Hello and welcome to the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. I am your host, Ian Barstow. On today's episode of the podcast, we talk to Richard Hadfield, winner of Britain's Got Talent with Collabro, and now doing his own series of A Song a Day Keeps Coronavirus Away. We talk about Richard's time in Collabro, winning Britain's Got Talent, the audition process, which I always find very interesting. And of course, we discuss the end of his time in Collabro and what he has done next. It's a really interesting conversation and very engaging as well. I will just put a quick note that the audio at some point isn't brilliant. We were recording off Zoom, and if you're watching this on YouTube, the video is slightly out of sync. We were having issues with the connection. So we did the best we could in the current circumstances, but I hope you're going to enjoy the interview. It was a really fun one to do. So before we get started, the weekly reminder that if you're listening to us on the podcast app, then click on subscribe and follow, and we'll get an episode out to you every single week, and it will appear on your device as if by magic. And if you're watching on YouTube, then click on subscribe, like and share, and why not leave a comment as well. And new episodes will be out every Monday morning at 6 a.m. So without further ado, let's get on with the episode, and this is Richard Hadfield on the As Yet Unnamed.
I can hear it. It's alright, no worries. Okay, I've got an external mic plugged in. Can you hear me alright?
Yes. Yeah, vocal sound's fine. That's good. Hello, welcome to the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. I am Ian Barstow, and in today's episode, I am very pleased to welcome winner of Britain's Got Talent, musician, former busker, I believe. We'll talk about that later, and also solo artist, Mr. Richard Hadfield. Good afternoon, Richard. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
How are you, and how are you in lockdown? I'm asking everybody that because as we record this, we are hopefully on the slow process out of lockdown. But how are you finding the lockdown?
Yeah, it's actually all right. I know obviously that's not necessarily what you want to hear, but it's not a bad thing. I've been so proactive and productive and got so much done. I'm feeling fitter. I'm cooking at home rather than getting loads of takeout. You know, I'm feeling good, mate. Actually.
So whereabouts are you living now? What sort of part of the country are you in?
I'm actually currently living with my girlfriend. Because it just felt right to see we couldn't see each other. It felt right to just jump in and say, well, why don't we just live together for a bit?
It's a good test.
Yeah, well, she can't wait to get rid of me, really. That's what it is. She can't wait. She's looking at the clock saying, come on, Boris, tell us when we can go. But no, it's I'm living down in Mitcham at the moment, which is South London.
Let's go back to your early life. When did you first discover that you could sing? So was it a moment when you sort of suddenly started singing along to radio and someone went, oh, blimey, you've got a decent voice? Or was it quite late that you suddenly thought, I'm going to try singing, and you were surprised at how good you were?
Well, I always remember my mum and dad sort of telling me that they couldn't stop me from singing Barney the Dinosaur in the back of the car when I was about 2 or 3. So I think they couldn't wait to let me stop singing. So, you know, no, I think I carried on singing and kept, you know, really interested in it. And mum and dad sort of were like, well, we've just seen this sort of ad for doing, you know, auditioning for a musical. So they basically put me forward for it. And it was, of course, Les Miserables. And it was my first ever Amdram production of the show. And since then, I've just been absolutely hooked and continued to sing.
Who did you play in Les Mis?
I played Gavroche way back then. I was 9 years old. 9 years old. Yeah.
So yeah, Les Mis is my favourite musical. I love it. I can listen to it all day, every day. And I saw a youth production of Les Mis in Lichfield Garrick Theatre. And it was, for me, I thought it was as good as the touring show I saw. because the talent was amazing, and it's not an easy production, I wouldn't imagine, for your first foray into theatre to be part of.
I think because so many people, like you say, you love it. A lot of people love it. It's the longest running musical in the West End, So it's got some welly behind it, and people obviously connect with it so much. And I just think that transfers over to the Amdram side of things, because it is the first musical for a lot of people that they ever did when they were younger, and also the audience love it. So it's very easy to really make a fantastic night when everyone is on board in the audience. No one's umming and ahhing because they don't know the musical. Everyone knows Les Mis,
And what was that first night and that first run, probably about 4 or 5 shows, I would think. What was that like for you when you got the reaction from the crowd after you sing the songs, you sing the big solos, and then at the very end when you get the curtain call and what did that feel like to you? Do you remember what it felt like?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's continued on, but it's the whole sense of community, the whole sense of being part of the cast and being part of, a family almost, because you obviously do all the rehearsals, you're working really hard on a project all together, and then finally you do this big project, the thrill of it all, the live audience, the live musicians. I don't think you can ever replace that. It is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I think it's just a continued feeling. It's the feeling that almost got me hooked on it to start with, and now I can't stop singing,
So you go from your musicals, and I presume you do other musicals throughout your youth and your childhood. I read that you used to do busking, and you used to sing the swing songs, the classics, all of those. So how did you find busking? Was it ever frustrating that people would just wander past and not even take notice of you singing?
Well, I started busking because basically my mum and dad, not particularly well off at all. My dad was a taxi driver. Mum worked in a bit of finance, did a lot of admin stuff. But they really wanted to send me and my younger brother through private education. And they worked so hard to be able to do that. But when I finished my GCSEs, they sort of turned around to me and said, we can't afford to send you to the sixth form college that was attached to the school, because we want to give James, my younger brother, the same opportunities. And that was really hard for me, because it wasn't, it was all my friends, and there was so many brilliant opportunities there. I also play a lot of rugby, so there was opportunities with that. We did 8 shows a year, at the school. There was so many extracurricular stuff. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave. So that summer, after my GCSEs, while all my mates were out and about at the festivals and stuff, I decided to go out busking in Brighton, where I grew up. And I managed to raise $8,000 for my school fees to help my parents pay for it. So the busking just was such a success. Although when I started, I remember I asked my mum to come along with me, and I was literally shaking in the street, saying, "I've got you under my skin," really scared. But you can build up a confidence, and that has really helped me, the whole busking thing, because no one's paid to see me. No one's asked me to sing. I am literally going out there and just singing. And if people walk by, people walk by. If people want to stop and listen, people want to stop and listen. If people want to give me a little bit of spare change because they enjoyed the song, then that's that. But there's no expectations from me that anyone's going to listen. And there's, also no expectation that people are going to like it. So that was really good for my performance skills, as it were.
And so from busking, how old were you when you were doing, so you would have been 16, 17? 16. So I read as well that you started up YouTube to do videos as well on there. Is that what led to someone giving you a call to say, do you want to join this group that we're starting up?
Yeah, well, that was sort of the beginning of it all, really, because I started putting videos out there as promotion, because I slowly realised when I was busking, it was probably the best way to get work, really, because people come up to me and say, "Oh, have you got a card?" And I'd be like, "No." So I go away and make a card, and then people go, "Oh, do you have a website?" I'll go, "No." So I go and make a website. So it's sort of a natural cycle. And then I was like, you know what? I need some videos of me singing to put out there so people can, if they want to hear me, if people can't see me live on the streets, they need to figure out where I am otherwise. And so YouTube was the answer. So I put a few things out there. Not that they got many views. It wasn't like crazy, but it did get seen by these guys who were putting together this band, which ended up being Collabro. And they saw a video of me singing "Bring Him Home" from Les Miserables, and they just
was that in a church? Was that the one that was in the? It looked like a church or a hall. Is that the one that they saw?
No, it was in my front room.
Okay.
So when I used to go out busking, I used to wear a tux and everything because I used to sing all the Sinatra stuff. And I love jazz music, like very big passion for it. But I used to go out in a tux, so I was sitting on a sofa like this, singing "Bring Him Home" in a tux in my front room. And I think there was a coat rack in the background. I hadn't made much of an effort because I was 16, 17, so I didn't really know what I was doing. But it was in my front room. Yeah.
So you join Collabro, or you meet up with the guys that are in. Was it the same when it first started? Was it the same group? Was it the same 5 people?
The 4 that are in it now was the 4 that I started the band.
So, and obviously they decide that Britain's Got Talent is where they want to go, or where you want to go, and the route you want to take. What's that process like? Because I imagine that you don't just rock up at the theatre on the audition day and go in front of the judges. I'd imagine there's a lot of form filling, a lot of pre-audition auditions in front of producers and all of that. So what's the process like before you get to the actual theatre?
Well, for Britain's Got Talent, we were actually late to put our video in. We missed all the initial auditions. Normally there are pre-auditions before you see the stuff that you see on TV in front of the judges. And you sort of meet up with casting directors and all that kind of stuff. But we missed all that. But we had a connection with one of the casting directors and sort of not a firm one, but we said, can we put a video in, and so you can have a look, and it can almost be like our audition, as it were, to try and get onto the actual show. And they're like, okay, sure, we'll have a look, but can't make any promises. So we sent a video of us singing a tune in. I think it was "Bring Him Home," with 5-part harmony. And they came back and said, "We love it. We love the vibe. We love what you're doing. We're gonna put you through to the judges," which was amazing. We were one of the rare instances where actually the first kind of audition we did was in front of the judges. But on that day, there was so much waiting around. Oh my God! Like you spend almost the whole day waiting around and doing all the VT stuff. So doing all the video, little bits of film. So when you see that like 2 minutes before the audition where they're introducing us, that takes like all day to film, like so long, which a lot of people don't understand. So it was a really interesting experience though.
So obviously you walk out on stage, the way it's cut, I don't know if that's different to the way it was when you were there, because the way it's cut, it's sort of like everyone is like going, another boy band, here we go, they're going to be they're going to be rubbish and all that sort of thing, and they cut to the judges sort of going, oh yeah, here we go, and then you start singing, and you can see, I think it's Amanda Holden's face, and he just sort of goes, because obviously people were expecting a pop boy band, and then you started singing this, and it was like, I remember watching that, and I like Britain's Got Talent, and I sort of watched it, and I thought, they're through to the final. I knew straight away, it was like, oh my God, that's so good, and they are through to the final. So what's it like, because obviously you go through, they didn't have the golden buzzer at the time. What did you feel like when you came off stage?
Did that year.
Did they? Was that the first year?
Yeah, but I think by the time we auditioned, it was the first year, but by the time we auditioned in front of the judges, they'd already given away all their golden buzzers.
Okay.
But that it had already been done, so there was an opportunity. I think the only people who had a golden buzzer left were Ant and Dec, and I think they were looking for more of a comedy thing, because obviously they're more of a presenter comedy duo kind of thing.
Do you know what I find now on and it might be because I've watched it for so many years. I know which act is going to get the golden buzzer before they press it.
Really?
Because you can see how they're going to film it, and they'll cut whoever's going to do the golden buzzer. They'll focus on that judge, and they'll cut to them during the act, and you'll hear them say something before and during. It's like, oh, that's so good. And every single one of this series so far that's been a golden buzzer, I've gone, that's the golden buzzer.
Yeah. No, I think it's very interesting when you understand that side of entertainment and TV and things. It is very interesting. Not that it becomes like easy to read, but it's definitely a formula, and it is interesting to see that sort of unravel. And it can actually be fun, like you're sort of mentioning, to like almost pre-guess it and sort of see it coming. I think when people figure it out a little bit, it does sort of show the behind the scenes kind of effect and how the production of it goes.
There's another thing in that as well, and it's annoyed me since day one, and it's such a geeky thing. On the title, the star, so the Britain's Got Talent, the star and the T don't line up, and they haven't lined up since the program started. And every single time, so if you watch, every time you watch it, the star on the sign when it comes in, the T and the top of the star don't line up.
Is that your OCD coming?
It is. That is definite. It's definite OCD, and it's every single time, every year. I'm like, will you change it? So you've gone. You do the first audition. You get through. You then have to. Did you have to do the standing on the stage and congratulations, you're through to the live show bit? Did you have to do that?
Yeah. So they do like a deliberation sort of day. And that is like so stressful, because I think we were one of the last people. So once you obviously get through the initial audition, they then do a deliberation. So they cut some people out that they said yes to. Which once again, you can kind of figure out in hindsight, you can kind of figure that out, because if they don't concentrate on someone, then they probably got rid of them. But if they have made a big story about someone, that's a lot of time and effort on production. So therefore, they would have they're definitely going to put that person through, because why would they not? Because they put the time and effort into producing and giving them lots of airtime. So that's just an insight to anyone who doesn't understand that side of it. But the deliberation day is the next step before the semi-finals, before the live shows, and that is just a whole thing in itself. It is just like, it's so long, and they I remember when we went in for us to tell us, you go in like a group of three, and they bring in 3 acts that they've said yes to, and they either normally say, I'm sorry, you guys aren't going through, or they say yes. And we were the last people of the day, and we were there with Lucy Kay as well, who came second. We basically all came into this room, the judges are sitting there, and then they say the lines, and the kind of thing like, we're really sorry to tell you, but you're going through, or something cheesy and corny like that. But anyway, I remember they're like, we just wanted to say, and then the producers are like, hold, and literally I remember Simon Cowell, because it was near the end of the day, Simon Cowell just went, oh, get on with it, Jesus. Like, he was just like, I want to go, eat dinner. I remember him saying it under his breath. He was like, come on. And then they go, now. And then they go, you're through. So our hearts are literally in our mouth. That's how they get that reaction on TV, that was a whole ordeal in itself.
And how long between you finding out you're in the live semi-finals to actually being on TV? How long? I'd imagine is it a couple of months?
I'm trying to think now. I think we auditioned in early February. The show was on we aired in the first week of April.
Yeah.
So that's their time that they're sort of producing the show. And I think the deliberation must have been, because we knew, but when we saw ourselves on TV, we knew we were going through. So as in the deliberation round. So I think it must have been like only like 3 weeks later or something like that after the first audition. And then obviously the live shows starting around about end of May, June, I believe.
It's about now, isn't it, I think? And then, so obviously you do the, you've got the semi-finals. Actually, no, what was it like? So when that episode airs, how mad did your social media and go? And what was it like? What was it? Did you sort of think, blimey, we really have got something good going on here?
Well, I remember having a sort of an airing party, you know, when I told like a select amount of people that it was happening, because you're not meant to say anything. But I told, like, as everyone does, I got around about 20 friends together, friends and family. And we're all sort of sitting in the living room. And I remember as soon as it went out, it was not that evening, as much as I thought that evening would be really, really fun and like crazy, but it was actually really stressful, because I'd never dealt with that much interaction on social media before. You know, you feel like you have to reply to every comment. At the time, I felt like I had to reply to absolutely everything that was coming through, you know, thanking people. Obviously, that's really nice to do, but when it's live on air to the nation, and that's like, 10 million people viewership, that can get really crazy. So I remember just being on my phone the whole time, almost not even talking, because I felt like I had to reply. That was kind of mad. The social media aspect is mad.
Did you remember to turn your notifications off?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know that was a thing. So like, so I just had my phones going bing, 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 bing. After that night, I was like, switch off this notification.
So I remember Dara O'Brien retweeted one of my tweets. I replied to his tweet and he retweeted it. And I've never, it got about 6,000 likes. And honestly, the phone, it's just like ding, 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 ding. Yeah, turn off notifications. Thank you. So you do the semi-final. That goes really well. You're through. I think you win the semi-final. What did you sing in the semi-final? Was it Stars?
We sung Bring Him Home.
Bring Him Home. That was it, because you had the...
Our first audition was Stars.
Yeah.
And then we sung Bring Him Home for the semi-final.
Because I remember watching it. Bring Him Home is my favourite song of all time. I just find it just... I just love the song. It is my favourite song of all time throughout. And if I'm watching it in a theatre or if I'm watching it on TV, I get really annoyed when they clap at the end.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, let that note hold. Yeah, just shush until the music finishes. So you get to the final, and so you've had the audition go out, you've had the build-up of the semi-final, and then you've got the build-up of the final. What is the pressure like during that day of the final of Britain's Got Talent? Because at the time it was 5 years ago. It was probably at its very peak back then. It was when it was massively popular, and still is, obviously, but it was absolutely massive. What's that pressure like?
I obviously none of us had ever been on TV. I think I'd done a film, but that's very different. It's not a live audience. It's not a live recording there and then. So none of us had done a live TV performance like that. And when you've only got one song, it's kind of stressful, you know, because you got to, everything's riding on that one song. Your future's riding on that one song. So you've got to nail it. And I start Bring Him Home. So I got to nail that top note. It was very, very stressful, because also what you don't realise is that we're working with in-ears. I'm assuming you must know what in-ears are, but basically you've got two ways of working on stage, and that's monitors where they're putting the sound out and you can sing along and you can hear yourself, or you have in-ears where they don't have speakers on the stage facing you so you can hear it. It's just going through an ear pack into your ears, like headphones on. And that's why you sometimes see singers pop one out in a live performance because they want to hear themselves, because it's really hard to work with. We really struggled with those in-ears. They weren't made for our ears. They're very like sort of the cheap kind of ones that you are sort of suitable for everyone. So that is one of the hardest things to work with. Can you hear the track properly? Can you hear the other people singing? Because you have to remember we were harmonizing. Yeah. So really tough as well. So there's a lot of factors in there, but yeah, performing live and having only one song to nail it is stressful.
And obviously you get through to the final, so you do your second. Did you just say you did a second song, didn't you? You got through to the final three. You got through to the top three, and then you do a second performance, I think, isn't it?
No, it's you have a whole week of semi-finals, and then you basically there's 9 to 11 acts every night, and then you either win it or the top two go through. So you either win it or you come second, basically. And we won our semi-final by quite a landslide. I think we got 70% of the vote that night, which was quite crazy, to be honest, when you think about the other 10 acts that night were sharing 30% of the vote, and we had full 70%. So the audience was behind us.
So you're in the final. When I watched the final, after you'd done that song, I said to my partner, I said, "They've won. That's the winning act." Definitely, I called it straight away, and I think I voted for you as well. Probably about 2. I didn't want to make I didn't want to make it too make it a bit even. So you're standing on the stage. You're into the final 2. Anton Deck do the "and the winner is."
Yeah.
And then that must feel like an eternity, because it's bad enough watching it on TV when they drag it out. It must feel like an eternity when you stood there on stage, because if they say Collabro, that's your life changing forever.
Yeah, no, it's unreal. I mean, there's a video on YouTube. If you type in "Winner of Britain's Got Talent 2014" or Collabro winning, you get the little clip of us winning it, and the whole big gap of silence as Anton Deck sort of hold it in the air, I mean, I just dropped to the floor. I just dropped to the floor onto my back and shake around like a lunatic. I think I drop out of shock, but it's funny. And then we all run off to the back and we're all hugging each other. It was mad. It was absolutely mad. You couldn't believe it. And as much as you say, "Oh well, you were clear winners to us," blah blah blah. I remember on the night when you're in it, you have no perception of whether or not you're going to win. You would think everyone's got the same chance, But that night, I think out of the 11 acts, we got 30% of the vote. So still, we were strong ahead of all the other acts.
Yeah.
So I think actually it was the highest percentage for one act in any final, which was kind of mad. How far ahead we were of everyone else. So yeah, it just all puts it into perspective and kind of makes you think, oh, how did you not realise that? But you just don't at the time.
And it must be mad, because you win Britain's Got Talent, you win this massive show, you've got this massive platform. I'd imagine there was a massive party at the end of the live final, or you just all went back and collapsed in your hotel through exhaustion, one of the two. The next day when you wake up and you think, right, now what do we do? How mad was that first few weeks after you won?
It was draining, because you don't realise when you're in the Britain's Got Talent, you're in like a bubble, and so everything's looked after. And I know it sounds really funny, but like someone, people feed you and people bring you water, and people tell you to go do this, people tell you to go do that. But once it's over, they all back off. They're like, "All right, yeah, cool. This is now you." We went into all this without any media training, and we didn't have any of that. So that was it was kind of mad. I remember I woke up the next morning. I had my best mate, my girlfriend, and her best friend all in the same bed, just in this hotel next to Wembley Arena. And I remember, because I got the short straw, and I had to do the 5 Live interview in the morning, which is like 6 a.m. And I hadn't gone to bed until like 5, whatever it is. I remember the hotel phone ringing, And I pick up, I'm like, oh, and I just hear, now connecting you to Five Live. I was like, oh God, pull myself together. You know, thank God they can't smell my breath. You know, so it was interesting. But then obviously you go on the press tours and you go do all the bits and pieces. And then I remember after that, I think it was a week later, we get brought into Psycho record label. None of us, when you do sign up for Britain's Got Talent, you have to sign contracts saying, you know, I'll do this record deal, but only at their discretion. If they want to take it up, there's no guarantee that they want to take up the record deal at all. Even if you win, they might not want to work with you. So we all sort of went into Psycho thinking we're just going to do some press stuff because that's where we've been doing a lot of our interviews. Which is, but before anyone who doesn't know, Psycho is Simon Cowell's record label that is like a subsidiary of Sony's. Yeah. So we're at Sony headquarters in South Kensington in London. And yeah, I remember we sort of walked into this room thinking we're just going to do another press thing. And Sonny Takar, who was head of Psycho record label at the time, sort of goes, right, so these are the songs we're thinking about for the album. And we're like, what? Like, we're just like, what the hell? Where did this come from? He was like, yeah, so we're going to do Let It Go, we're going to do Stars, we're going to do Bring Him Home, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I was like, wait, you slow down a second. Like, they're actually taking us on to do an album. So yeah, that was really, really mad.
So your first album, because obviously you signed for Psycho, and you release your first album, and I think is it 300,000 copies were sold of that album?
Yeah.
And it went straight to number one. I know I downloaded it when it was released. I love Stars. I think Stars is such a nice song on that album. It's a really, really good one. And obviously, so you're signed. You've got to do you record the album. I think it's probably about 6 months, was it, from winning to release?
No, the crazy thing about that album was we recorded it in a week. So they'd already decided what songs we were doing, and then they gave us a few options of songs that we could pick, you know, just to make us feel like we had some part of it. But this is just how the things work, because they want to get it out, they want to get it to people. Because if you wait too long, people forget. They do, because it's entertainment. It's the entertainment industry, and a new band comes along every day. So they wanted to get it out quick. So we record. They had the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra do all the recordings, and then they sent those recordings over, and we had someone come in and work on the harmonies with us. And literally, we stayed in a studio for a week, recorded all the bits, and it was done. And so then they did the production on it all and sent it out. I think we got it out in August. So bearing in mind we finished the show in June, we had it out in 2 months, which is crazy, absolutely mad.
That's a real quick turnaround, isn't it? That is definitely a get this out while we're still.
It shot to number one, which was, you know, I think that's what they wanted, because it was so soon after the show. It really capitalized on everyone remembering who we were and you know what we look like. You know, that's really important. And I mean, we would have obviously loved to spend more time on it, because I still look back at that first album and don't think it was the right sound. It sounded very boy band rather than like classical vocal group. But I still think those of the songs are great, and obviously the live performances we did of those songs were fantastic as well. So that's good. But yeah, I just felt like the way that we were sort of mixed in it wasn't. It could have. I think everyone could have asked for a bit more time, but I think, you know, Psycho really wanted to get the album out, which I totally understand.
Didn't you perform on QVC as well?
Yeah, I mean, we did all those kind of things, you know, performing on QVC. I mean, things like it sounds silly, but it's things like that just it's what our audience knows and loves. You know, we're kind of like we were the Tesco album of the week kind of thing. You know, it was that kind of branding, and that's the audience that we hit, and we loved that audience. I still have that audience, you know, and it really, really was something special. And we knocked Ed Sheeran off the top spot, you know, that week. He'd been on top spot for 8 weeks or so. I think it was longer than that, 32 weeks or something, because it was the longest running album at the top of the charts. So we actually knocked him off. I mean, we were only up there for a week, but you know,
you still did it though. We beat Ed Sheeran at number one. That you can still have that one. So you have the first album. You've obviously got a lot of touring. You head all around the world. Were you always happy in Collabro, or when did it start to become? When did you sort of start to think, I'm not sure if I can do this much longer?
Britain's Got Talent was fine, really good. We had no problems. A lot of situations arose when we did our first album, and Psycho were kind of leaning towards me doing a lot more of the vocals. If you ever listen back to the first album, compare it with the second album, they would get me in basically to re-record people's parts. So they'd be like, "Oh, can we get Richard for an option?" and stuff like that. I just think they liked the sound of me. That's not to say the boys weren't as good, or that, you know, that was just what that's just what they liked. And that really caused some issues because, you know, as much as I'm not trying to sit here and say, you know, everyone had like huge egos and things like that, but that does damage your ego when, you know, you come into something like that. And we were all so young, and I think that's when it started really creating animosity between the band members, because I think some people wanted it to be even split and things like that, and it just all got a bit mad. So yeah, that's when it really started becoming a problem. And I just don't think throughout all that we ever really had anyone sort of guiding us. It got left to band politics and all this kind of stuff, and a lot of passive aggressive sort of bits and pieces. And we're all so young, and I don't think we ever got the teamwork really, really together. There was always other concerns and other things going on. And yeah, I think that's why I had to leave. You know, I play rugby my whole life. I love working in a team. I love working with people. I work with a band now. You know, I love being on stage with other people. But our personalities just didn't gel. And like I say, no one was guiding us. We're all so young. We'd never done this before, and no one was guiding us. And that started to really, you know, things that were said started to really affect me mentally, and I became a shell of who I was. Yeah. And I didn't like that anymore. I stopped enjoying singing. I'll give you an example. We sold out on the second tour that we did, our second UK tour. We sold out the Royal Albert Hall, which was nuts. I'm performing at the Royal Albert Hall. I think it was around Easter on a Sunday evening. Might have even been Easter Sunday. We'd sold the whole place out, which is never heard of, especially on a you know, a national holiday like that. And I was just so I was just so like, I wasn't happy. I didn't feel comfortable on stage with the boys. I didn't feel comfortable. We put it on, and a lot of people, I think that's why people were so surprised, because we all pretended it was okay, but it wasn't. Yeah. And, but we were trying to be professional about it. But you know, in that moment, I thought I really sort of clicked with myself and went, I'm fulfilling one of my life dreams at the age of 22 at the Royal Albert Hall, and I'm not happy. So something had to change.
And it was, so I think it was the 10th anniversary edition of Britain's Got Talent, and they had this massive and frankly bloody brilliant piece done by Ashley Banjo and Diversity, and they brought all these people back. And you with Collabro come out towards the end, and you sing the song, and then you go up on the platform. Did you know on that night that was going to be your last performance?
Yeah, I saw the obviously I had all these dates in the diary, and I was thinking, you know what, that'll just be a nice send off, because it'd be where I started with the boys and where I'd finish it. And yeah, I sort of gave the news that night, and it all sort of came out because I was actually going to talk to someone personally about it, but someone ended up leaking the information, and it all went into the sun, which wasn't what I really wanted to happen. I didn't want it to happen, but it did, and that obviously caused more issues. But the thing is, with that, what you don't realise is, and the thing is, I can't go into, because of contracts and things like that, I can't say what the one thing that really pushed me past the point.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to, because I've moved on and the boys have moved on, and I've actually spoken to the boys since, and I literally, when all this coronavirus stuff sort of happened, it makes you put things into perspective, and I just sort of messaged each of the lads, and I said, I hope you're all well, blah, blah, blah. Just wanted to sort of, break the ice, because it's been 4 years, So, that's all in place. But at the time, something happened, and it just pushed me past what I could deal with. And the funny thing is, none of them spoke to me in person about it ever. But like I said, this goes back to us being young and dumb and not explaining ourselves and talking in person. And could it have been sorted out? Yeah, I probably could have, especially now how we've all grown up and we've all changed and become our own people even more. But when we're all in our early 20s, there's the cold, there's all fire and cold. Everyone's really, really extra, and it just all got so much. So at the time, yes, it was the right decision. Could it have been fixed? Probably, but we had no guidance. That was the problem. Our management didn't want to do anything about it. No one was stepping in. It was left to us to sort out, and that was the outcome. So, that's that. But like I say, I have spoken to the boys since, and it has been clear, and I've been sort of over it for some time. And they've obviously moved on. They're doing brilliant stuff as well. So, I just think there's nothing held in the air. We've all moved on.
So it sounds like there's definitely no regrets that you went down that path with Britain's Got Talent, Collabro. I think wherever you work, I think you'll get those times when it's like, I can't do this anymore. But so there's no regrets at all then, that you're throughout that time, you're happy you did it and went through that whole process?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of my life now. And it's given me opportunities. I can't ignore the fact that I was in a really successful band, and it allowed me to now move on and get the exposure and allow people to hear my voice further than, me singing on the street in Brighton, So yeah, I can't ignore that. And I'm really grateful for it. And I'm grateful for all the incredible experiences I did have when I was alongside the boys. As much as maybe I didn't enjoy some of those experiences as much as I should have because of other things going on, they still happened, and they were still awesome. They're still brilliant.
Yeah.
Touring Japan and America, and having an album and singing with Shirley Bassey on stage, and joining Alfie Boe for Friday Night Music Night. All these things happened, and they were unreal. It's just a shame that they were tainted by other bad feelings. But you've got to put that to one side and just realise how lucky we all were to be able to enjoy that unreal success.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you leave Collabro, and then I think I read during your time in Collabro, you were suffering or you were struggling with your fitness and your weight and your sort of your mental health and that. And then I think that you did a photo shoot for Attitude, and it was almost like a sort of like, blimey, someone's been at the gym. Did you concentrate on on the fitness side of it to get it for something to focus on after all of that stuff you've been through, and you were suddenly out of the limelight almost, and out of that pressure of being in a group?
I think I'm one of these people who will eat my feelings. So if I've done something really awesome, I'll eat. If I've done something that's ended up bad, or I've had a crap day, I'll eat. It's just what I do. I'm still learning to figure that out and work with it. I'd say losing the weight was amazing, and I've always been a big guy, so that what you saw in that picture, that was just carved out from where I already was. I just had a huge layer of fat on top, but it was that was already there from all the rugby stuff, because my first choice profession before singing was actually rugby. I used to play was at Harlequins Academy and all that, blah blah blah. That's a whole nother story. So yeah, I was already kind of the muscle memory was there. What I would say though is, as much as looking that good was great, I think that became an unhealthy obsession after Collabro. It was like I tried to replace something with all that, all the fitness and all this kind of stuff, and that it became unhealthy. I couldn't maintain a lifestyle like that. It was little things like not drinking enough water to look that kind of ripped look, because you wanted to be a little bit dehydrated, and that give you headaches. There's a lot that goes into that fitness side of things. So yeah, I wasn't living a healthy lifestyle, like I wasn't living a healthy lifestyle when I was larger as well. There's got to be an in-between, and that's what I've figured out now.
And I think a lot of time, particularly with sort of Instagram and the social media side of it, and you have this male and female body image of these very slim women and these very well-built men, and you think you've got to remember that it's not real life. That is for the camera, and the amount of work that you have to put in to get to that position. You can't make yourself feel bad when you sit down and you've got a few rolls of body weight when you sort of like, I'll breathe in a little bit when I'm putting this shirt on that used to fit me and now it's a bit tight. I think we've got to get to the point where, well done to them if that's what they want to do, but I think people have got to realise you can't, if you've got a normal life, you'll struggle to get to that point and maintain it. You may get to it, but to maintain it, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think you've got to work with whatever your lifestyle is, but you also shouldn't use that lifestyle as an excuse that you can't get fit, because everyone can. Everyone's got enough time in their day to be able to do something, but you've also got to put that pressure on yourself to look like these Instagram models, because one, you don't have the time to do that, like all the way to be like some ripped massive bodybuilder. Two, it's also genetics. Some of these people are just born beautiful. You can't help that. If they've got genetics.
Chris Hemsworthy, come on.
Exactly. Some people are just born like that. It's just that's what's going to happen. But yeah, you need to find the right balance. You just need to find the right balance.
So obviously now you're you've doing your own show. You've had an EP out, Solo Sessions, which you can download on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Prime, I think it's on. You're doing your Song for a Day. We'll come back. We'll come on to that shortly. You've also got, I know it's on your website, you were doing a tour and now you've got some tour dates for later in the year. Is that still happening? So
I regularly do a lot of shows, like all across the UK. I go to New York a lot. I do a tour of the west coast of Canada quite often. So, I get all these sort of places in, but I haven't done a UK tour since leaving the band, and that's kind of what now I have started working on. I think this time's perfect to be proactive and try and create something, and so I've started a crowdfunder, because as you can imagine, all my gigs got cancelled because we can't sit next to each other. So you
can't furlong yourself, can you?
No, exactly. It's a bit hard when you're self-employed, especially in the entertainment industry. And so yeah, I have no income at the moment. I have no job. So I created a job for myself, but that job doesn't pay the bills because I'm just giving out free music basically. And that is a song a day keeps Corona away. And we can talk about that in a sec, but I've just started a crowdfunder, which is basically was to start getting better equipment for my song a day keeps Corona away, to make better music at home so I can give it out for free to more people. But now we've completely surpassed my initial goal of £2,000 to get all those bits and pieces. And I think we're now on 4,000 and we're only a week in. And I've got 5 more weeks to go. So I've now set the new goal of trying to raise 10 grand to try and help me put on a UK tour so I can bring the music to people live once all this is over, you know. So that's really the plan at the moment, to try and do a UK-wide tour of about 5 or so dates in the right places with a nice big band in a nice little theatre. I just think it could go really, really well. So that's what I'm trying to do at the moment.
How much does a tour cost? How much would, because obviously you've got to pay musicians, your accommodation, you have to pay the theatre to rent out, I would imagine the theatre, you have to pay them. I would imagine it's quite a big risk investment to get even a 5-date tour going.
Yeah, it's a huge risk investment, because that 10 grand will only help me so far. I'm actually going to be putting my own money into it as well. So, but that 10 grand does help a long way, you know. It helps me cover musicians, so it's not coming straight out of my pocket, and helps with venue hire and things like that. So if it just breaks even, then fantastic. But yeah, you're right. That kind of money, I've only set that goal because I think it's potentially achievable. I'd never want to be, you know, trying to raise like 50, 60 grand or whatever it was. Because I remember when we were in Collabro, obviously much grander scale, we were doing that, you know, 1,000-seater venues with, you know, big speaker systems, yada, yada, yada. But I remember that was about, I think we got $500,000 to try and put on a tour. So that, it just sort of shows you how much tours cost. And that's before profits and things like that. Because, you know, these things really do start racking up when you start figuring out all you need, including promotion of the tour.
Well, you look at some of these big stadium tours, and you just imagine the staging, the amount of work that goes into just putting the stage up, and then you've got crews of 100 people, and you've got however much it costs to rent out Wembley Stadium. You could almost see, so you look at some concert tickets and you think, you want 135 quid for that? But then you think, actually, they probably don't make that much money off them unless you're selling 5 nights a week at 60,000 people.
Yeah.
It's a big investment. So let's come on to Song for a Day. So on your YouTube channel.
So I've started a song a day keeps Corona away, is what it sounds like. It's a song every single day, to try and make this whole, you know, self-isolation thing a little bit easier for people. And I tell you what, the journey through it has been quite incredible, because when I left Collabro, there was a lot of negativity, like a lot of negativity. A lot of people saying I couldn't, you know, be any good. I wasn't a good singer on my own. You know, go back with Collabro, all this kind of comparing. And that's really hard to move on from something like that when people just keep comparing. And it gave me a lot of insecurities within myself. So it made me feel like I couldn't put out the kind of music I'm doing now because people wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But when I started Song a Day Keeps Corona Away, I literally started with a camera like we are now, just against this backdrop, and just singing to camera with the camera mic and just being like, a song a day keeps Corona away, and today I'm going to sing this. And it slowly evolved into me dusting off an old microphone that I had no idea in using, and actually learning how to use GarageBand and all that kind of stuff. And then we built it up, and I started understanding how to do great video editing. Well, not great, but, you know, definitely better than what I was doing. And yeah, it's just building and building and building. And the sense of community I've now got through doing Song a Day Keeps Corona Away has really let me find like my love for music again. I'd lost what I was, who I was, and doing this has just changed me. I don't think it sounds awful, but coronavirus couldn't have helped me any more than it has. You know, it's been quite an emotional and unreal journey these last 65 days, and yeah, I just can't really believe the support, the online support, because everyone's just so loving and so caring, and it's crazy to see how much the songs mean to people all across the world. I've got people in Thailand, I've got people down in Australia, I've got people in America, I've got people who are from South America, Mexico. You know, it's unreal that the music stretches so far, and the comments are just really, really lovely.
Does it give you an appreciation of how hard it is for YouTubers to do the amount of videos they do? Because people think, oh, you just stick a camera, you do it quickly. It's like, oh, no. The amount of editing and the equipment and everything. You suddenly think, oh, I just need that. And then it's like, oh, actually, I need that as well. And that would really help. It's a big effort, isn't it, every day?
Yeah, it's a huge effort. And the amount of equipment that you need. And I'm still filming on a phone with all my song a days. I'm lucky that the phone quality is quite decent. But, you know, when you think about then, if you had a camera into the mix, that makes it even more complicated, trying to get sound out of different places. I'm a massive YouTube watcher. You know, I've got lots of YouTubers that I love watching, whether that be gaming or, you know, some bodybuilders that I follow, all that kind of stuff. So now being part of that and realizing, and a lot of those people don't put out a video a day. I'm putting out a video every single day. So yeah, a lot of people don't realize. People just think I stand up and sing in front of the camera for like however long the song is, but it takes hours. It takes hours, especially because I don't ever record bits and put it all together to make it sound the best. What I do is just do one take. It's a one take wonder. I have to get the right take because I'm filming it at the same time, and I want that to be natural and real. I want me to be miming along. So I just do one straight take, and that is it. So if I get one note wrong, I've got to do the whole song again. So yeah, it can take hours. Yeah.
Well, I obviously this will be on my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on there, so I started my YouTube channel back in 2008 when I was putting videos up that I used to do at the hospital radio, and it was probably about the last 12 months I've really got back into doing proper videos, and I'm trying to make the edits even better. And I've now got 2 cameras to set up, so I can do different camera angles.
Yeah.
God, the editing on that, honestly, you have to match up the sound with the one, and then you have to make sure the sound on your voice isn't out of sync, and it's just
yeah. And everything we're saying now is going over people's heads. So just people
and unless you understand the YouTube world, you just don't understand YouTube at all. So where can we find your Song a Day Keeps Corona Away? What's your YouTube channel?
It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. I try and upload as much as I can to Twitter. All those handles are at Richard Hadders, which is Richard spelled normally, and then HADDERZ. It's my nickname. It's what the rugby boys call me quite often. So at Richard Hadders, and on YouTube it's just Richard Hadfield if you want to go find it. But yeah, it's really exciting. And so if you do want to come along, I do all different genres. I do musical theatre, I do swing, I've done some pop, I've done some rock, I've even done some songs in other languages. You know, I've done some opera. There's lots of things there. I try and change it up every single day.
What's your what's the one song that you thoroughly enjoy singing? So if you were doing a 50-night world tour, what is the one song you would have in your set that you would have to do, that you adore to sing?
That's a really good question. The funny thing is, for me, I get a bit obsessed. So if there's one song that I'm really liking at one time, I'll be absolutely addicted to that song. But I think out of all the songs I've done so far, I'm actually working on a tune at the moment with some of the new equipment that I've managed to get due to all this crowdfunding, and it's really, really good, and it's Hallelujah, I'm really enjoying working on that at the moment. I'm actually laying up all the harmonies myself and creating this sort of Richard choir, as it were. So I guess right now, Hallelujah for me it's just sounding great, and I cannot wait to get it out to people.
I think that song is one that it can be sung so many different ways and by so many different people, but when a person gets it right, it just I've forgotten the name. I'll cut this bit out. What is it? X Factor winner, Leona Lewis. No, did she do it? No, Alexandra Burt. Alexandra Burt, that was it. Put that out, cut that. So at least I sound like I know what I'm talking about. So example, when Alexandra Burt did it on X Factor, it's just one of those moments where it's just like, she's like, wow, that's amazing. Have you done Over the Rainbow?
I have. It's on my Soho Sessions that's on Spotify, but I haven't recorded a new one yet for Song a Day Keeps Corona Away. A lot of people have been asking for it, and I really love the song, but I'm just kind of waiting till I get the proper setup, this whole new setup that I'm trying to create with the funds from the crowdfunder. So yeah, I'm just trying to wait until I've got all that, and then I can do a proper version of that song, because I think it ties in nicely with the NHS also, because obviously that's really sort of big at the moment. The clap for our carers, it's really important. The work that the NHS is doing is unreal. My girlfriend works for the NHS, so I know firsthand what's going on there. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful song, and wonderful that it's attached to Clap for Our Carers.
I think Eva Cassidy, her version is, and it's such a shame that people don't know Eva Cassidy. She was discovered by Terry Wogan after she passed away from I think it was from cancer, and she had this massive success after her death. But her version of Over the Rainbow is just is really nice. So I'd imagine it's quite a hard song for a male person to get right, is it?
Pick the right key. It's all about the arrangement, really. And I think Il Divo do a lovely version. I think they adopt a lot of Eva Cassidy's vibe, and they attach like an operatic kind of sense to it. So yeah, I think if you are going to look for a male version that's similar to Eva Cassidy, it's probably Il Divo.
Do you want to get back on the stage, as in theatre, as in acting and musicals? Is that something you'd like to do?
When theatres reopen, yeah. Let's completely shut. And I think a lot of people are really scared, because I think it's scary, these theatres. Even if we do open it back up and we have social distancing, like say 2 seats, 3 seats between people, it's still, the theatres aren't going to be able to afford to open, because the rent and the cost and paying everyone, having a third full theatre, it doesn't work. It doesn't work out. But let alone doing social distancing in the production. Like you can't have actors not touching and being close to one another, and the band. What are you going to do about the band? So there's a lot of kinks to figure out. But obviously, if it does reopen, I actually auditioned last year. I after Collabro, I didn't do a lot of musical theatre, because I just wanted to put that down for a second. Not that I don't love musical theatre, but I just wanted to move away from it for a bit. But literally last year was the first time I sort of went back and started trying to sing some more musical theatre. It's been lovely to go back into that genre. And I did my first West End audition last year. And I actually got through 3 rounds for Valjean in Les Miserables.
Really?
So I was very happy with myself. I didn't get the part, but I was very happy with myself. And they said, they said, you're not the person we're looking for at the moment, but you're kind of perfect for the role, which was really nice to hear. They don't have to say that. I think they're just waiting for me to get a bit older, as they kind of wrote back to my management and stuff, because I'm only 26, so the role is often played more in your 30s. So yeah, it was really good confidence boost for me to realize that I could get that far in an audition process after not being not auditioning for years. So yeah, it meant a lot.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, one day we will see you on, because Les Mis will still be running in 50 years' time, I'm sure. You'll be at the 100th anniversary special at the O2.
Yeah. But, song a day keeps Corona away. Episode 1000.
Oh, don't. In the nicest possible way. I hope you don't get too far past 100.
No, I know. But I'm really thinking about trying to keep it on in some ways. It's given me a new energy with my career, and singing and just new energy and love for music. So I think even when this does finish, I'm going to try and carry on in some form. Maybe not every day, but definitely a few times a week, I think, try and produce something for people online.
Excellent. Really, really good. Richard, thank you so much for joining me today on the As Yet Unnamed podcast. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you. Really interesting conversation. I will put all the links in the description for your YouTube channel. Song a Day Keeps Corona Away. Go watch it. I watch them. I'm subscribed and I watch every day. So it's just that little bit of nice music that you have every day. So Richard, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate. That was a really good interview, man.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
We've done the whole... I haven't been asked those kind of questions about Britain's Got Talent for a long time. So, I think you got the whole story there, mate.
And that's it. Another episode of the As Yet Unnamed podcast. Done. Thank you so much to Richard Hadfield for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I thought it was really interesting and a really nice of him to do the interview with me as well. You can find out more by going to Richard's website. It's richardhadfield.london. That's richardhadfield.london, and he's on all the usual social media sites as well. I'll put the links down in the description below. So the final reminder for this episode, I know you're probably getting bored of this already, but you've got to do it for me, please. If you're listening on the podcast app, then click on subscribe and follow. If you can leave a review as well. They really do help with the podcast and people finding them. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you enjoyed the episode, and also click on like, comment and subscribe as well. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the As Yet Unnamed podcast. I have been Ian Barstow, and until the next episode, thank you and goodbye.